the situation in Manipur continues to be tense, especially after several videos have gone viral on social media of the atrocities that are taking place in this state. Joining me on the broadcast at the top of the hour is Iram Sharmila. Ma'am, I'd just like to begin by asking you, my first question to you, what exactly are your appeals and demands to the government of Manipur?
What I want to say is when the state federal government fails to keep law and order situation in the land, it's Prime Minister's intervention, right intervention. What right now needing is, and that intervention, not that bringing of presidential rule. Instead, calling all the MLAs and hearing their opinions one by one. Those MLAs representing nearly 30,000 of voters of their respective constituencies. As its people's voice is very important all throughout the state.
Also, ma'am, do you believe that army rule can perhaps lead to an end of violence?
There are lots of rumors. I don't discuss on that. There are lots of rumors. Both the armies and the police, they are not one-sided from those talking.
Okay, and what about AFSPA, ma'am? What are your thoughts on AFSPA?
It's a democratic society. It's a democratic country. How these armed forces, armies can should they control people's suffers, all that. Why would we need that outdated black law of the colonial era's law? It's shameful.
Okay, so you believe that it's a democracy. We don't really require the army to be brought back into Manipur, AFSPA to be reimposed. But I'd just like to, before we let you go, ma'am, I'd just like to understand from you then, how do you think that this rift between the two communities in Manipur can be resolved?
It's a very complicated thing, as Manipur is just a border to Myanmar's golden triangle, which is notorious for drug number 4 production, for poppy plantation. In Manipur, smuggling of drug, arm thing is open secret. People, almost youths, have that like drug addicts, full of drug addicts, and even in those militant cadres, the drug users are there. And so as people in Manipur are suffering like orphans because of this political mismanagement. In Manipur, whichever sanction for development issues, construction for any investment, money would just come back half of it without utilizing because of mismanagement, because of dead end of the
Okay.
deadline.
All right.
Just reach.
Absolutely, ma'am.
That's our road, transport, communication, the facilities of
Okay.
the suffering, unemployment problem, youth.
So it's a
educated youth just in they are earning rickshaw pulling or just enter into militancy or drug using.
Okay.
Manipur.
all right. So what we understand from what you have to say, ma'am, is that it is a very complex issue, and of course there is not going to be an overnight solution. And of course, we've known your position on AFSPA for many years, so I understand where your sentiments come from as far as army rule or AFSPA is concerned. Thank you so much, Arun Sharmila, for joining us on the broadcast. Let me take the conversation forward with Major General Sudhakar ji. We also have with us Major General G.G. Dwivedi, Major General P.K. Sehgal and R.V.S. Mani. Let me start with Major General Sudhakar ji. Sir, we've tried to have a conversation with several people from Manipur over the past couple of months, and we've also just spoken to some of them before you came. It's very difficult, Major General Ji, to really understand what is it that people are looking for at this point in time. And as far as bringing back the army rule is concerned, it seems that nobody really is in favor of that, whether it be the Mighties or the Cookies. But what do you think is the solution then?
Devika, good evening. Thank you for getting me to your show. My compliments and best wishes to the co-panelists and the viewers. Before I respond to your question, once again through your channel, let me flash and show this book. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Can you read out the name of the book, please?
Great Game East.
Yeah. Who's the author?
Bertil Lintner.
Excellent. I have shown this book number of times through your channel to our viewers just to convey one point and reinforce my conviction that do not look at Manipur in isolation. My good friend is absent today in the panel. He would have made me feel very proud had Major Ali been there, that after 21 days of persistent and consistent countering, he finally agreed to what I said at middle of the night on the 21st day of argument, that what I was saying had some point. So he recorded 10 minutes of video recording. It lasted for 1 hour. So let me respond to the question firstly. What is the big problem? Ladies and gentlemen, we need to understand that Northeast per se has got more than 200 tribes. And Manipur alone has got, internet says around 33, it is anything between 34 and more tribes. Out of these, they can be divided into different groups. But without taking too much time, I have heard Mr. Mani covering, and the very eminent and senior journalists who have got hands-on experience. They will be able to give a perspective to bring solution to and lasting peace to the situation in Manipur. But from my side, I would say let's first of all identify the problem. What is the problem? Is it Kuki and Maitai is the center of the problem, or problem is something else? This book, ladies and gentlemen, it highlights that the most volatile region in the Asia is the Northeast. There is an axis of interest which is crisscrossing between India and China. Our Act East policy has to have a land connectivity through Manipur, and it is by Act East policy we can counterbalance the expanding footprint of China in the ASEAN nations. China would do well by creating instability in one of the adjoining nation state, that is Myanmar, and thereby forestalling any progress. I'm aware of the fact that there is a national highway passing through More, cutting across Myanmar, goes through Bangkok, Thailand, which is called as the trilateral national highway. The India, Myanmar and Thailand. This is a kind of an extension of translating into Act East policy of India and giving gateway entry into the ASEAN nations. China has got CMEC, China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, with General Dwivedi. He's an expert and I'm a student, so we keep listening to and reading his papers. This particular corridor, Devika, has been tested and successfully tried out. The cargoes have moved by multimodal transportation from Singapore port, cutting across Thailand, across Myanmar, to the northern province called Yunnan. Also, there is an external problem of illegal weapons coming in. There is a drug problem. There is a golden triangle having extended to Nagaland, Manipur. And there is a problem of land. There is a problem of reservation. There is a problem of unemployment and the tribal different kind of distinctions. So what does it do? Where is the solution lie? The solution lies, as per me, in addressing the situation in Myanmar in a calibrated manner.
Right.
That calibrated manner means that the external affairs minister would do good if they engage with the military junta in a manner with sustainable and defendable red lines. One. Number two, the border as on today is a porous border. We are all aware that 16 kilometers that side and towards own side are porous. Either of the countrymen, they can travel across because there are ethnic commonalities. Therefore, there is a requirement to revisit the border management much more efficiently by fencing as also deployment of troops in form of counter infiltration or kind of a deployment.
Absolutely.
Third point is the golden triangle extending to Myanmar, and it is not this book. I am talking about that there is a UN document which has already come out that the golden triangle has actually harvested largest quantum of narcotics and opium of different varieties in the financial year 2022-23. And that particular thing, although it is a low-grade kind of a narcotic, it is lesser in cost in comparison with the golden crescent, yet this narcotic has made deep inroads into Manipur, Nagaland, Tripura, etc. Take your mind back to 2021 when Colonel Tripathi, his wife and a little son, they were ambushed along with the security personnel. He is the commanding officer of one of the Assam Rifle battalions, wherein he had challenged the people who were going in for extensive opium cultivation in Churachandpur. And he had been threatened not once, number of times, along with him his company commanders. So that is the kind of threat which is manifesting. So therefore, to say that they have not penetrated into the political dispensation today, that the Chief Minister is not under any kind of threat, will be actually cheating ourselves, it will be misleading as far as deductions are concerned.
Absolutely.
So finally, it brings me to the last point, is that the land issue which has been hanging fire since British India Empire is still not found any solution. There is 53% of Maitai population living in the 10% of land area, whereas rest of the tribes, they are the hill tribes, and Kukis and Zomis, they have been taken as the tribal militants. No, we need to understand that in 2008, when the SOO, the suspension of operation order was actually dealt, and finally we came to an agreement. In that agreement, the Kukis and Zomis are not identified as the valley-based insurgents. They are basically been identified to defend their homeland. We have actually got mixed up in the whole issue. Therefore, looking at the complexity, there is a requirement of a short-term, a medium-term, and a long-term plan to be executed.
Okay.
Short-term answer lies in bringing lasting peace. How do you bring lasting peace?
Right.
The start point is you localize, you isolate the turbulent areas digitally and physically. Digital means a lot of people are raising hue and cry when the internet and the social media disconnection is or interruption is ensured.
Okay.
That is the method of the military solution. I'm afraid, I'm sure both the senior generals will agree with me.
Okay.
Second, physical isolation is whichever area is the turbulent area, it needs to be isolated physically by presence of effective security apparatus. When I
Okay,
say
all right. And to an extent, we've done that. So, to a very small extent, perhaps we've done that. But I'd just like to bring in Major General Gigi Dwivedi as well. Major General Dwivedi, the question that really keeps arising is, and when one looks at the photographs or some of the visuals that have come out of Manipur as well, is the extent of the arms, ammunitions and the weapons that are being wielded by some of the people there. Now, one can't say that it is only all the cookies are the ones with the weapons or all the Maitis are the ones with the weapons. It's across communities there. How do we address this problem? Because it seems that this is, of course, to do with the porous border with Myanmar. Where else are the weapons coming in from?
Well, first and foremost, I think the situation in Manipur is very critical. Manipur is on fire. And the scenes that I am looking at also, I am in touch with number of people in Manipur. I think the scenes are very heartrending. And I have a deep association with Manipur. In fact, I commanded my division, 57 Division, in Manipur from 2004 to 2006. And I would also like to share that Manipur was in somewhat similar state. Half the Manipur was under militants, and my division lost 65 brave hearts and 250 wounded. But we cleaned out the Manipur and almost eliminated 550 various groups, militants. Now the question is, everyone is trying to give history, everyone is trying to convert geography. All of us know what the problems are. But today, the time is, how do we address the issue? First and foremost, the current situation is that civil administration, like in 2004, is not in position to handle Manipur. And you very rightly brought up that today Manipur is fortified. In our times, only the militants in the bases had weapons. Today, villages are fortified. They are laid the IEDs, and almost 6,000 weapons are in the villages. So therefore, any peaceful dialogue, any peaceful talks cannot take place until this kind of arms are there in Manipur. So therefore, you are asked what the solutions are. Well, people like Madam Bandu, Sharmila and all, they were there in my times also. People want Manipur to be brought peace, but then they are not willing to accept the reality. The reality is police and the administration cannot bring back Manipur into normalcy because the divide between the community is so sharpened today, they are at each other's neck. Some neutral, viable force has to come in. And that's only the army, because when situation goes out of hand, the army has to come in. Army, my same division is still there, but they are not in the counter-insurgency role. They are there as aid to civil authorities. And aid to civil authorities, your hands are tied. You only go and come into action where you are required. Otherwise, you are sitting and watching the tragedy. So therefore, I think time has come. Now under Article 355 or 356, the army must move in, and let me assure you, army has tremendous goodwill in Manipur. People, they have a lot of trust on the army. Army is neutral, and army places the larger interest of the nation, and it is not going to be doing any favoritism to any community, which is the case with the local police forces. And how do we go about it? Once the army comes in, they'll have to establish the CI grade. They'll have to clean out the villages where the arms are there. Once their cleaning out have been done, they need Armed Forces Special Power Act, and then create environment where the civil administration can again come back, where the government of the day can again step in, but that's a long drawn. And second issue, what Sudhakarji brought out, yes, there's the China angle. Chinese had been aiding these militants. The names of the militant organization, People Liberation Army, United Nations Liberation Front, they all have been given weapons by the Chinese. But today we have to first handle what is the internal situation, and then we can go on to the China factor and connectivity. In fact, during our time, we cleared all the ridges, Wanggai Ridge, the Kamai Ridge, and today the train has come to Khosong. That was actually the foundation which are laid by us, and also further connecting Mole to Tamnu, to Mandalay, and onward to Bangkok and to Singapore, that road. But my submission is, if we have to save Manipur, let's not now end the politics, let's not end the talking, get the army in, give the army full power, disarm the villages, disarm the militants, and create situation for the civil administration to start functioning.
Okay.
Over to you.
All right, Major General P.K. Sehgal, same question to you, sir. Of course, our two panelists have elaborated on what they feel is the solution for Manipur right now, and we're just trying to understand. Like I said, people on the ground are not really in favor of the army coming in or army coming back. It was only very recently that the government started to retract AFSPA from certain areas, but we've seen that the situation has completely gone out of hand.
I totally agree with both the panelists. The situation is chaotic. There is absolutely almost a breakdown of civil authority. There is a civil war going on between the communities. All that notwithstanding, I personally am absolutely of the view that the army must not come in. In a democracy, it is the army should be under the civil dispensation. It is high time that the president's rule be put into place. We've got lots of visionary leaders, we've got lots of capable leaders amongst the civilians, and the army must be placed under their command to be utilized as they deem fit. Must not be the Manipur state as such should not be put under the army rule. Police solely under the army under any circumstances. I do remember, and I do very certainly agree with the fact that the army is the ultimate arbiter of the nation's destiny. Upholding the authority of the state and preserving the sanctity of the motherland is something that is very dear to the army. And should the ultimate arbiter not be able to deliver, imagine the chaos, etc., that could take place. Hence, I'm of the firm conviction and firm opinion that the army must be placed under the command of the civil, and let the civil decide as to how to utilize the army. Once the civilians have given the army a certain amount of role, we thereafter are very competent to carry out that role in a manner that the people will accept it. Today, the Indian Army is the most revered, regarded, and respected organization in the Indian nation, and it's also the guardian angel of India's homogeneity and integrity. Should they be brought in prematurely, I personally feel it could be a disaster.
Okay.
I am very, absolutely and totally, once again, I reiterate, I am convinced that the army must not be brought in on its own. The army must be placed under command of a civil dispensation, and the civil dispensation, presently the existing civil dispensation has failed to deliver. It's time that, though it may be the BJP government, it must be dismissed. Manipur must be placed under president's rule, and a very competent civilian administrator, a visionary person capable of carrying convictions with both the communities, maybe from the northeast, should be put in charge, and the army be placed under his command to assist the civil administration to bring in peace and tranquility.
Okay.
That is the only possible way, and no other way.
All right, Mr. RVS Mani, what do you make of the situation, sir? I'll leave the last word with you as we wrap up this conversation.
That the civil administration, everybody has concurred, all my previous speakers, all of them are senior generals, they have concurred that the civil administration has failed. Not just failed, they appear to be the last 80 days directionless. It is here that we have to have a 3-point strategy as brought out by General Sudhakar, that A, short term, bring in the army, set up a unified command, bring in under the governor, and cordon off the border areas of the borders of Manipur and give them and bring in AFPSA. I know the human rights fellows will start writing in English, but leave it to the other people, the Home Ministry, to defend that, because most of what the human rights, I have personally faced it, I have defended it, that it's all, a lot of inaccuracies do creep into human rights too. So don't be afraid of that. Bring in the army. Number 2, on a medium term, please review the instrumentalities like the SOO of 2008, so that next time onwards, these types of distortions within the inter-community issues are sorted out. Maybe go for a new negotiative or a dispute resolution process to bring them on a single process, that is within, we give him a time frame of 6 months. And on a sustained basis, keep on reviewing the agreements, MOUs, etc., protocols with the different countries, not just the porous border of Myanmar, not just the porous border of Nepal. I have been talking on that. Please revisit it every 3 months, every 6 months, every 6 years. Let the external affairs take the lead. The 16-kilometer rule, whether do we require it or do we reinforce it or do we put in safeguards that only certain select ethnic group will be allowed access to and fro travel to the use the 16-kilometer road. Not that everybody coming right from Arakan-Yoma to enter into the Manipur or Mizoram, wherever it is. So these are all very, very vital things. On a long-term basis, the external affairs should be continuously every 3 year or 6 year. They should establish bilateral mechanism, bring in the agenda point, get into that, and every year, every 6 year or every Indo-Myanmar meet, they should revisit this because Yangon is not going to be managing the northern borders with India. They have absolutely no control of the military junta. So it is the local mafias and all which happened, which is done by truck. And basically all this started because March there was a clampdown on the trucks by the Honorable Chief Minister. But now he is directionless. Bring him under a governor, as General P.K. Saigal has said. Unified command under a very proper civilian governor, and please cordon off the entire Manipur border with other states, and thereafter begin the cleaning up process, consolidate the peace process, and thereafter we can take other steps, whether the rebuilding, whether the trust building, whether the dispute resolution, all these things will come one after another, step by step. At the same time, also keep it in agenda that in 6 months I'm going to review all these instrumentalities like the SO, suspension of operations and all, so that you go for a sustainable peace can come only in this format. And that is the best way, and keep on recalibrating.
I want to just clarify one thing. Army, of course, works under the civil administration, but Army doesn't take orders as to how it has to operate. Army has its own ways of doing that. And in my times also, there was combined headquarters. And that, yes, the joint planning is done. But once the task is given to Army, it goes and does the task its own way. It doesn't take orders from any other person because the role is defined. So therefore, there is a clarification that Army does work under the combined headquarters like we did, but it has its own ways and own ways doing the task. It doesn't take orders from police or any civil administration.
Okay.
That is point number.
All right, I've completely run out of time, but I do appreciate all of our panelists joining us to present their thoughts and views on what's happening in Manipur. Like I said, this is not a conversation or a solution that we can arrive at in such a short period of time, but if we have these conversations every single day, then perhaps we'll be closer to the solution.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.